Kathleen Kennedy has recently hinted at some future Star Wars projects and also revealed what's happening with Star Wars Starfighter, the Sean Levy directed Star Wars movie.
I really think that now we're in a position where it broadens the possibilities of stories and filmmakers that we can bring in. It can actually be a standalone story, like an Andor, like a Rogue One.
Now, what's interesting about this is that I feel like she contradicts herself a little bit in the way she says this, because she talks about bringing in different filmmakers who are allowed to tell stories outside of what Star Wars has always been and what Star Wars currently exists, and uses Andor as a reference for this. But Andor is incredibly connected to the Skywalker saga, to A New Hope, to Rogue One, and I understand that it's a standalone story outside of this, but it's still highly connected. But the way she mentions being able to use these other stories to then build into many, many more stories, I think is kind of interesting, especially considering what we've just had with Andor, which is technically a spin-off slash prequel to Rogue One. But does this mean Lucasfilm are now also considering doing spin-offs to Andor, considering its success? However, the problem here is if we look at things financially, I'm pretty sure so far Book of Boba has made more money than Andor. Andor was more expensive to produce, had more episodes, and I believe is still on the lower end of minutes watched. The data isn't entirely complete just yet, and it gets a bit muddled with the amount of time spent watching these episodes, especially because they release 3 at a time, and I haven't seen any conclusive evidence that Andor isn't more successful and isn't being viewed more than other Star Wars series. We know Mandalorian is still at the top, still the most popular, successful Star Wars series ever made, and Andor, once again, I think is going to be one of those sleeper hits that slowly grows over time and continues to be watched for many years to come. But the way she describes this, the fact they're still looking at bringing in many more filmmakers to evolve Star Wars and make different kinds of Star Wars projects based on the themes and genres that they work in, I think is good news. I think we're going to see more different styles of Star Wars. I think they still need to do some kind of Star Wars horror project. But interesting that Disney's roadmap forward still is a bit unclear in the streaming space, because as far as we know so far, and especially based on what Tony Gilroy said a few weeks ago, streaming is kind of dying for Disney. We've known for a while that Disney Plus is kind of struggling and doesn't have that same boost The Mandalorian gave it. But Tony Gilroy also talked about a few weeks ago how if they were making Andor now, if they had to start now, they don't think they'd be able to get the budget for it and would not be able to make the same show that they did, which is disappointing to hear. Partly also because of the disappointment of series like the Book of Boba Fett Season 1, like the Obi-Wan series, like The Acolyte, how they weren't necessarily well received. Skeleton Crew as well, even though I think it's a decent show, I don't think found a large audience. And for now, it seems like Disney are moving back to theaters. They're doing the big movies, which she also talks about here. Star Wars Starfighter, she says, is beginning filming in September. She said they're currently still going through the casting phases. Ryan Gosling obviously playing the lead, and that movie is currently scheduled to release in May 2027. So they have time.
And we're very excited about that with Ryan Gosling. And we're just putting together the cast. It's going to be pretty great.